Assalamualaikum, everybody. A very, very, very good afternoon. I hope सब ठीक होंगे, सब मजे में होंगे. So yeah, good news. Congratulations to all the Victorians. Restrictions have been eased. I know, and I hope you guys are happy as much as I am. But that doesn't change the fact that you need to be protective of yourself. You need to take care of yourself. You need to, wear masks, wash hands, keep yourself safe, keep your family safe. Starting off, मेरा नाम वानिया उस्मानी है. We are back again after a very hit health campaign of ours, liver health and hepatitis prevention. We are here giving you another brand new episode of a very brand new campaign, which is completely dedicated towards mental health. ये हमारी campaign है in collaboration with CCHR, which is Citizens Commission on Human Rights, and they are joining us as well. और हम बात करेंगे mental health पे, why it's important, what can we do regarding it, अगर किसी को है तो हमें कैसे deal करना चाहिए. The reason why we are bringing you this session is because हमारे पाकिस्तानी community में, to be very particular, mental health को इतना consider नहीं किया जाता. We think that it's not something to worry about. हालांकि it's a very completely different story. Mental health is as equally important as your physical health. And the reason why we are bringing you is this campaign is to let you know that you need to be aware of your mental health and you need to be aware of others' mental health as well. तो हमें join कर रहे हैं from CCHR two very, very valuable guests. So these guests are Kim Cullen and Lee Riley. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Wania.
Hello, Riley. How are you?
Hi, Wania.
Thanks for having us on the show, Wania.
No problem. So a little bit about them. I'll start with Kim. Kim is an integral part of this organization. Kim is an executive director, to be exact, and she is educating public regarding alternatives on mental health practice, which is commonly used in the treatment of mental health today. And a little bit about Lee. Lee has a background in nursing and is currently working as a public relations officer. And both Lim and Ki both are working for about 8 years now. Am I right? Yeah. 8 years now, and they are educating the public and they are exposing psychiatric human rights abuse. So welcome on board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wania. I just want to mention that Lee and I worked for many years together in New South Wales. I used to run the New South Wales chapter of the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. And Lee and I worked very closely together then, and he's just come back on board. I've sort of grabbed him.
That's great, yeah.
In New South Wales still, but because we're doing a lot of things over the internet, and we can operate like that now.
I think, it's great.
So it's so exciting for me to have him back and partnering with him because he's very experienced in what he does. So it's great, Lee.
Yeah, must be exciting. Must be exciting. Yeah. Yeah. So we requested you guys to be here and talk about mental health and how your organization addresses these issues. So I'll start with Kim. Kim, can if there's one thing in particular that you want to recommend to people in regards to their mental health, what would that be?
That's a really good question, Wania, and I have no hesitation in saying informed choice. Informed choice is such an important thing that people just don't realise that they have the power to make their own choices. But it's very difficult to be able to make a choice for something if you're not given the facts. If you're told one thing and then you're given lies on the other side and you don't know what's true and what's false, you can't make a decision. So one of the things that we push with the Citizens Commission on Human Rights is informed choice. And that's to do with all aspects of mental health. Like, for example, with psychiatric drugs, for example, antidepressants. If you go to the doctor because you might be feeling depressed and you think, oh, well, I need to have antidepressants, and if the doctor does not tell you that those antidepressants could make you feel suicide, you've not been given informed choice, right? So it's always like having the facts on every single thing that you do. If, for example, if you go to the doctor and you're told that you have diabetes or cancer or something like that, the doctor will tell you the types of treatment that you can, and you make the choice, right? But however, unfortunately, in the mental health area, if you get caught up into the mental health system and under the Mental Health Act in Victoria and get put into a psychiatric hospital and made a compulsory treatment, then you don't have informed choice at that point, right? So it really is, it's very important, informed choice, and I push this to people all the time. Sit back, do your own research, get all the data. If people don't know about something and they want to know, they can go onto our website or they can email us and we will give them whatever information they need. But definitely, get yourself back to yourself.
For sure. So, Kim, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your position as executive director and why you are working with, this organization?
Why I'm working with Citizens Commission on Human Rights?
Yes.
I'm a grandmother, a teacher by trade. I'm a mother. I'm very, very passionate about children, and children are our future. And I think if we do not protect our children, we're in for a huge amount of trouble down the track, right? Yeah. So there's huge problems in Australia and across the world on kids being put on psychiatric drugs for things like attention deficit hyperactive disorder and other sorts of, disorders which are actually not factual medical disorders, but that are actually made up. And they're labels, and I could have a lot of arguments with people about this, and I do, because people believe that these are true. Isn't that true, Lee? We've had our fair discussions with people about this. But the thing is that these problems, kids do hyperactive. Kids are noisy. Kids often can't sit still in school. They often, get into trouble or, blurt out, answers or what the problems are. If you've never been in a room with a child that's running around and going crazy after eating a whole lot of sugar, then you just haven't experienced life, I don't think, right? That's not a kid having a mental illness. That's a kid being a kid. So you're asking me what my passion is, why I am doing this, and why I'm doing this is because my job is to educate people so that we can actually save our kids and our elderly and everyone else in between. But we do that through education.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's absolutely exciting. Yeah. So coming to you, Lee.
Sure.
What do you recommend people do during this time? We are going through a very tough time at the moment. We have been in quarantine and we have been in lockdown. What do you think people can do, to get rid of this feeling of isolation and,
Sure.
feeling suicidal or depressed? Yeah.
Sure, I understand. Okay, so first I would say that public policy created by government should be followed first. Washing of hands, sanitising, of course you do those things. I know that Victoria has suffered a lot greater than New South Wales, and I'm based in Sydney. So, I go to work, I'm out every day, I see people on the roads. It's a very different story to Victoria. Victorian government has policy on this. It's been strictly adhered to by most people, which is good. We need to do that. But the thing is, that brings with it some difficult times for people being cooped up in houses with children, trying to homeschool, working from home, literally being shackled to your property and to your home. Clearly, things like exercise, very simple things like exercise, making sure you get out of the house a little bit when you can. Some board games for children. I remember Mr. Morrison, our Prime Minister, talked about
Yeah.
I think it was jigsaw puzzles, and sales of jigsaw puzzles went through the roof. So there's very simple things like this.
I bought a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. So I think that a lot of these things, they're very, very simple things, and they're things that, funnily enough, most people already know. But when you're cooped up, sometimes people can feel agitated because the future is uncertain. And I would say that one of the things that people have is instability and an uncertain future. But I think if you just think about the time that you're in, think about each day, plan each day if you have to, have a pad and plan things out. Plan. The kids aren't going to school, so if they're at home, plan it as best you can, like a school day. I'm the father of a 9-year-old boy. He goes 24/7, so I kind of know what that's like with children. But we went through our own period here when he was at home, and it is very, very difficult. But if you have a bit of a plan to try and stick to it, definitely good nutrition, very, very important. Good nutrition, sleep patterns, set your get up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time. Well, they're very, very common sense things that your community would know as well. And also rely on your community. You have the Pakistani community, which is a big community, and there's a saying that it takes a village to raise a child as well, and it takes a community to raise a child. So I would say if any of your listeners are having issues where they're upset, call your community up, lean on your community, because friends need friends, and no, in times like this, that's doubly true. So
I absolutely agree. Yeah, because I'm an international student as well. I've seen so many international students feeling deprived of like social gatherings, and they don't know who to contact to, and they don't know who to rely on. And I think this recommendation is such a good a go to them. Like, they can do that. They can talk to anybody. They can talk to anybody who in which they're comfortable with. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So Lee, you are.
I'd just like to add something to what Lee said on that as well. A lot of research has been done on these areas that Lee was talking about, and it's been proven scientifically that going out and taking a walk is more therapeutic than taking psychiatric antidepressant drugs. More therapeutic and better for you. So, things like that are definitely, very much in the forefront that people need to attend to. Yeah.
So we have a question. It says that, how do you know that you're suffering from mental health issue?
I'll put that across to Kim if you like first.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say firstly, I've never suffered from a mental health issue. I suffer from emotional issues sometimes. I know during a monthly time when I was younger, I used to often be very emotional every month, and that wasn't very easy for my family. If I don't sleep well, I can be very grumpy. But I think people put too much emphasis on having mental health issues, and they should be looking at, we are a spiritual being, right? You guys, you have a wonderful community, and you're a very religious community, which I really think is fantastic. And you're a spiritual being. So as spiritual beings, we're dealing with our body and our mind. And if our body and our mind are well and healthy, then we are well and healthy, right? So we need to step back and say, well, do I have a mental issue, or am I being around negative people? Are they making me feel really bad? Or am I out of work? I've been out of work for 3 months. Oh, what am I going to do? So I've got this huge problem and I'm worrying about something, right? I'm just saying these are some of the things. But I think a person who has a real mental issue, and if they go into like a deep, dark depression and they feel they can't get out of that, then it's been proven factually that over 78% of mental disorders, diagnosed mental disorders, there's an underlying undiagnosed medical condition. So if you are really in that extreme situation, and honestly, one year, that is a very small percentage of the population, and it's because it's promoted so heavily that this is, we should, it's normal to feel like this. Well, actually, it's not. It's more normal to feel happy and well in yourself, and and those sorts of feelings. So, but if you do feel like that, go find a really competent medical doctor, and if you don't know one, contact me, and I'll give you a site to go to where you can find someone, and they can assess you, and they can find out. You could have hormonal problems, you could have nutritional difficulties, right? Or deficiencies. You could have, because you're not sleeping, because you're stressed out, right? When that happens, people, these issues arrive. So, did that answer your question?
I mean, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So in short, you're saying that you cannot diagnose it on your own. You need to be diagnosed in order to have a mental health,
Well,
mental health condition.
I wouldn't diagnose anyone as having a mental
Yeah.
health issue, because I would say if a person is feeling depressed, then they need to find out what's going on medically.
Yeah.
And if it's a trauma or something like that, it doesn't mean that they've got a mental disorder. It means they're suffering from trauma. If they've got post-traumatic disorder after having a baby, it's not that they've got a mental disorder, it's that they've had a baby and their hormones have gone crazy. So it's sort of like, I think it's time to take the labels away and look at what's behind the labels and actually look at the individual person and address each individual person. So no, I certainly wouldn't diagnose anybody. There's no way I'd do that. People say to me I'm crazy sometimes, and I'm sure I am, but that's okay.
Yeah. So coming back.
Would, if I could just add something just to what Kim said there, I guess to sum up, the medicalisation of the human condition is a concern.
Yeah.
So the range of human emotions have been medicalised, so they've been labelled as a negative thing, and that runs the full gamut from feeling upset if you failed an exam or failed your driver's test or broken up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, or all the way up to elation. You've passed your exams. Some people might say you might be labelled as ecstatic. There might be some label that says you're too ecstatic. So the medicalisation of the human condition is very much a worry, and it's very, very convenient for drugs to then be used to combat these so-called conditions. So we would call into question the whole system. We're not just talking about getting the correct person to diagnose. We question the entire system, and we would like to be the organisation that people would come to, your listeners, if they want to get the facts. And the facts are non-emotive. Facts don't know an emotion. Facts are just quite simply facts.
So you mentioned about citizens commissions, human rights organization. What are some key factors that citizens commission on human rights addresses? Kim, do you want
that one, or would you like me to? Up to you.
I'll let Kim take the lead. See, the thing is, I'm coming onto this show and I'll be here from here on out. And at the moment, Kim's basically handing this over to me. So if I let Kim lead, I'll come in with, I'm apprenticing essentially tonight.
What a cop-out. Okay. All right. So one of the things that we're really interested in handling, Wania, is getting legislation changed. Now, one of the ways we do that is we get people to come forward with stories, their own stories of where they've been psychiatrically abused in psychiatric hospitals or been overdrugged, or, their child's been put on drugs because they were diagnosed with ADHD. So all these different people have got stories, but often they don't know what to do, and they don't know that there's anyone interested in listening to them. So we collect the stories. We want to help you document your case. We want to get those psychiatric abuses, because then when we've got 50, 20, 50, 100 of them, we can actually take them to our members of parliament and we can say, listen, this is what's happening in the Pakistani community, for example, right? Did you know that in the last, 6 months, X number of people were put on psychiatric drugs and whatever happened, right? So then we have a story that we can put there and we can say, listen, we want you to speak up in Parliament and we want you to protest this new legislation that's coming in to change things. Now, for example, there's legislation that they're trying to push through at the moment, and a lot of stuff's happening in Victoria because we're in a situation of lockdown and people are very distracted with what's happening. And there's legislation that I found out about yesterday that there's gagging laws. It's called gagging laws. So, for example, I'm sure you would have experienced this with someone, people in your community. I mean, I think it goes on, just happens everywhere, unfortunately. If someone has been raped and then murdered, right, then the family will not be allowed to speak up and do something about that, right, because they will be fined or put in jail. So the victims are being victimised. Now, if we don't do something about legislation like that, it just goes through. Once it's in legislation, there's not a lot you can do about it. So legislation is a very, very important aspect of what we do. And the other thing is, as we said before, educating people. We want to get into the whole system that if someone presents with, like a traumatic experience, or if they've decided, they want to have suicidal thoughts or something like that, and say for example, like there's a question there, what do you do if someone has suicidal thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, say that person, you would probably take that person to the hospital, wouldn't you? Emergency, because you'd be very concerned about them, because you don't want them to do that horrendous act for themselves and take their own life. So the first thing that we would want, and Lee can corroborate that because he's also a trained nurse, is for the doctors at that hospital not to immediately state for this person, oh, he's got a mental illness because he wants to commit suicide, but to look at the person and say, what's going on? Now, when was the last time you slept? Are you taking any drugs? Have you had any street drugs? Maybe they've been smoking marijuana or, drinking too much, or is there anyone in your environment that's creating problems for you? And the guy starts talking and says, and then they might need a sedative or something to sleep for a couple of days, and then step back from them, do a full medical check. That's what hospitals are for, full 100% medical check. Find out if there's any underlying medical condition. And then, we go from there. But really, 78% of people, that will handle it. So but if you're there and you've got someone who's saying to you right in front of you, Wania, I'm feeling suicidal, what can I do?
Yeah.
You say immediately, come with me. You take them outside, you take them for a walk. You get them to start looking at things, you get them to actually put their, look out at trees, look out, and just keep walking with them. Get them to look at things, right? And then you would take them back home and you'd get them a nice cup of tea or something like that. You'd sit with them, let them talk.
Let them talk.
But be with them and don't leave them. But, you wouldn't, and then you get your community in to help, because you wouldn't leave a person like that in a state like that by themselves.
Yeah.
That would be a very cruel thing to do. Lee, I want you to add something to that.
The nurse, Yeah, definitely. So essentially what Kim's talking about is you need the first thing is to look at the physical health of an individual. So check what physical health they're in, not what physical health they feel like they're in, and not what physical health someone looks at them and thinks they're in. That they really need a battery of tests, and tests are available in hospitals. That's what doctors do. That's what hospitals do. They run a myriad tests, which are too numerous to talk about. So essentially, that is essentially what has to happen, and everything needs to be done from the point of view of compassion. So you wouldn't give someone invasive and destructive treatments, whether they come from psychiatry or anywhere, because the history is strewn with all sorts of strange practices, but they're not the sort of things that you do to a person who is, quite frankly, already having is upset and some kind of mental anguish. So why would you foist any sort of destructive practice on them? So I would always, like I said, the point of view is always compassion and care. And quite frankly, if you look at the medical community, I mean, for doctors, they take something called the Hippocratic Oath, and it's actually first do no harm. It's actually the line is actually first do no harm. I mean, some of the practices, you know, in my time, many years ago now, since I was a nurse in Brisbane, I was working as an agency nurse. I was sent to a psychiatric facility, and I didn't know at the time really much about psychiatry. And I entered this facility, and it was under lock and key, which surprised me at first. I was in there for a very short period of time, didn't know what treatments were used, didn't really have any idea what they did. And this was a pivotal moment for me, because there was a few, call them patients, but they were people. They were just people to me. And there was one room where there was somebody who wasn't in this room. It was a girl. There was a photograph of her, beautiful blonde girl, very happy in the photograph. And I said to someone, where is this person? Because I've always wanted to talk to people. Kim knows me very well. I like talking to people. Anyway, I thought I'd be an interesting person to talk to. And she was wheeled back on a gurney, so like a stretcher. And she looked nothing like the girl in the photograph. She looked, if any of your viewers are aware of Auschwitz or what happened to the Jews, well, not just the Jews, a lot of people in the Second World War, she looked like an Auschwitz survivor. She quite frankly looked like she was almost dead. And she'd just come back from a series of electroconvulsive therapy treatments, which is akin to passing low voltage through one's head, which you don't have to be a trained nurse to know that seems fairly barbaric. So at that point, I knew that she wasn't being helped. And it was a very, very simple thing for me to see, make a decision on. And after that, I thought, well, I need to find a group that has compassion for people and can expose this for what it is. Hence, joining Kim with CCHR in New South Wales, previously in the UK as well. So, yeah. So that's hopefully that helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have another question saying, how can we tell if somebody's going through mental health issues? Like she's saying that after COVID and everything, how can we tell if they're having this condition?
Well,
I think we went over that, didn't we? Really, it's sort of like we need to get this idea away that we're having mental health issues, because time that all of us are going through is not a normal time. It's not normal to be stuck in your house. And in Victoria, we're only allowed to travel 25 kilometres. Thank goodness the shops are opening tomorrow. You know, there'll probably be lines around the block, people trying to get into Kmart and shops like that, right? No one's been shopping. You know, everyone needs some shopping therapy. So I think, we need to change our own viewpoint, and I would really recommend that to the young people today. Just start thinking about, instead of it being a mental health issue, think of it being as a COVID issue or a lockdown issue, or I need to get back to school and be with my friends issue, because that is the issue. The issue is we need our freedoms back, and we've lost them. They've been taken away from us. New South Wales isn't in this state. Victoria, Queensland's not. Tasmania's not. Victoria is the only state in Australia who is under such strict lockdown rules. And that's a whole other story which we could go into, but I'm not supposed to talk about politics. But
and then we will see good positive change after tomorrow.
Sorry, Juan, I cut your communication.
No worries. I'm saying people will see positive change from tomorrow onwards, since everything is easing up and people will, get back on their feet, go out, avoid isolation. They will get out of isolation. So I think it's going to be a positive change.
It will be a positive change, but I think the positive change needs to first come within yourself. Everybody who's watching now, and everyone who watches this in the next week, they need to make the decision. I can change my life. If I'm not happy now, I can make things better. If there's something I don't like, change it, right? Because it comes first within yourself. Instead of blaming others out there, it comes from you. And there's very, if you don't have a job, send out 100 emails. You might have to send out 500 emails. You might have to call, 100 people. Don't just send out one or two. If you need a job, just keep on putting it out and get the mindset. I can do this. I'm going to be positive about
it. Yeah, I agree. And I would say too that in relation to the idea that one has whatever, an upset, a so-called mental illness, but you've got to get people to look at what they felt like before the lockdown. And I'm specifically talking about Victoria. So if you say to someone, how did you feel before the lockdown? Oh, well, I was fine. Okay, so what precipitated the negative feeling you've got? Well, I was locked down. Great. So is that a mental illness? No, because it's a reaction to a situation. You could take the same with a child that is bullied.
Yeah.
It's like the child was happy, the bully came over, pushed him down. How does he feel? I don't feel good. Is it a mental illness? No, it's a reaction to being bullied. So like I said, the medicalisation of the human condition, being all the emotions that any person can have at any point in time, is a major concern, and they shouldn't be medicalised. They shouldn't. They are natural, normal human emotions. And as Kim said, it is the responsibility of an individual. I know for some people, they might turn and say, but there's nothing I can do. Well, you know what? There's always something you can do, and it doesn't have to be big. It can be making a cup of tea. Sometimes sitting down with someone, they said, there's nothing I can do. My life's over. I don't know what to do anymore. It's like, oh, do you reckon you could make a cup of tea? Oh, yeah, I think I could do that. There's always an entry point. There's always an entry point for being cause over something. Always. And I'm sure I've got a lot of Muslim friends in Sydney, and I know a lot of these friends quote the Quran and lots of different scripture and things to me that make a lot of sense. So like I said, this community you have as well, lean on your community. And the common phrase at the moment is we're all in this together. So, hey, if we're all in this together, then let's be in it together and help each other. So that would be my final comment on it.
So we're very happy that you will be, putting your effort into other shows as well. You are on board with us. So are there any, can you tell our viewers what topics will be further addressed, or, what topics we are expecting in future?
Yeah, sure. So I guess we've seen that tonight where people are, writing in and asking questions on the spot. Now, I can't promise that I can answer every single question on the spot. It's just not possible to promise that. But that really will be up to your community. I mean, we can have an idea of what we want to say, but that might not fit what the community wants to know. So as tonight, people have asked questions and they get an answer. Sometimes the answer might need to be reiterated a few times. Sometimes it's taken up very quickly and understood. I tend to work fairly simply. I don't like having complicated answers, but I would say that if people have a question or have a topic, then we can raise those on a weekly basis. So I'm quite open, very open.
Me and I discussed these different topics that you could actually go over. And one of the very important things, I think, is discussing kids and kids in schools and the drugging of kids in schools, so that people are informed about that. And then there's a situation at the moment in Australia where they're potentially going to be screening every single 0 to 3-year-old in Australia. So your people definitely want to know about that one, because everyone's got little kids. And they think, oh, screening, that sounds great, but actually it could be quite potentially bad, especially if it's determined that child could have a mental illness. and then put on psychiatric drugs. And yes, children as young as 1 year old have been put on antidepressants in Australia, and it's not a good thing to have happen. Another thing we thought we could, Lee could talk to you about is about electric shock therapy, because once again, people are being educated that this could be a good thing for depression. So we want to inform you on the other side so that you get both sides of the story. And then we also just different things like, how effective psychiatric treatment is or ineffective it is, and what are your alternatives. So I think that's some of the ideas that Lee and I went over that, you could possibly look at and discuss. So there's some ideas for your listeners and viewers to actually send into you at 1 year and give you some ideas, and you and Lee can work. And of course, I'm always here. I'm happy to come on, obviously. I can't come on every week with you, but I'd love to. I've got Lee there, and he's absolutely brilliant. I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun, as long as you keep it fun and informative. I think that's where it's at.
Definitely. So thank you, Kim and Lee. Before ending this off, do you want anything else that you would like to add on?
I'd just like to say thank you for having us, and it's going to be lovely if you're in Victoria. You can go shopping tomorrow. Go get your go get your nails done, and go and have
shoes
with your friends. Go buy some shoes. Go visit some friends. And I really recommend people just get out and enjoy this beautiful world that we're in, and their friends. Thank you very much.
No worries. Lee, do you want to add anything else?
I'd say likewise. Thank you. I very much appreciate having a platform to get across our concerns, which I think are the concerns. They match the concerns of the wider community. And generally, you will find that there are a lot of people sitting out there at the moment watching the show that are thinking, "Wow, I never thought of that before," or "I've had a friend that's had something like that happen," or "I'd like to learn more about that," or not even knowing that it was even a concern. So education, our job, we see our duty as educating people in this area, creating the space for them to get the information that they need, and then to actively use that within their community and their wider community as well, in their workplaces, with their mothers groups, in their schools, because it is an action. And actions are required. So it is something that one will take some information and will act on it and do tell others to protect each other. It's not a sit back and read and then go, "Oh, that's nice." There is definitely an action component in it. But thank you very much for having me. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, both of you, for taking out your time to join us and, to share your information with our viewers. It's been an absolute honor.
No, I've loved it. Every second of it. Thank you, Kim, too.
Thank you. So, guys, this is it. And I hope आप लोगों को कुछ थोड़ी बहुत बातें जो हैं वो समझ आई होंगी probably. The thing is that in order to flourish, you need to nourish yourself, and by nourish, we don't only mean taking care of your physical health, but also your emotional well-being. But not every emotional reaction is a mental health illness. You need to realize that. Kim and Lee ne yahi bola that we need to be aware of this. कि mental health illness and emotional reaction is something very different. So we have more sessions coming up as well, and we will talk about it more. And अगर आप लोगों के पास कोई specific topic है that you want us to cover, then please let us know, and we will think about it. We will definitely do something about it. So this is it from my side. Thank you, Kim and Lee, for being here with us. Take care. Goodbye. Stay safe. Stay well.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Lakum assalam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
It's Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.